So I did a thing, y'all. Why is this strainer $12? I mean, if you're already making bread, by all means, do whatever you always do. These nails don't work with bread making. They do. I still don't have a bread cutter. Gummy is not a good look on potatoes. And there they are. Absolutely, they're so good, y'all. It's a faint smell of beef. It's not like I got a whole steak in this jar. Like, it don't smell like I got a whole steak in the jar. Hello, welcome to Yellow Door Urban Homestead. I am Asia, and I'm an urban gardener growing in a small space out in my backyard. So I did a thing, y'all. I did a thing after watching a YouTube video about raising quail inside. Now, the laundry room looks cluttered. I don't want to say it looks messy because it doesn't look messy. It just looks cluttered. I am inside today. It's Saturday, November the 23rd. I am inside cleaning. So that noise, wash machine, the wash machine is going. But I did a thing and I'm about to show you what I did. As I was saying, I watched a YouTube video last night and this guy is raising quail in his garage. And so he had a bunch of like dog crates, right? And I was like, that could be a way for me to get this going much quicker. And I could get way more eggs that way, right? So went to the Goodwill. He said he found most of his crates at the thrift stores. I have never even looked for a crate at the Goodwill. And so today I was driving by, I was like, let me go see if they have one. Ta-da! So it definitely needs to be cleaned out. It definitely needs to be cleaned out. But I found a space for it. That being said, I can also stack more crates up there. So I have an old dog crate, so I'm gonna see what I can do with that. It's really old. I've raised chickens in it. I trained my dog in it. It's very old, but it still works. So I'm gonna see about doing that. So the quail that we have in here already, oh my goodness, they need food. I'm gonna get them some food. But if y'all can see them, the quail that we have in here, in a week, we're gonna move over there, and today I'm gonna put more eggs in the incubator because that leaves the brooder tote open at that point. And then also, if I bring the crate from outside, that gives me another basically breeding and laying area for them. So I'm gonna work on that too. Right now though, I'm about to make some leek and potato soup, and I'm gonna make some egg muffins because our chickens are still laying. So yeah, chickens are still laying. I have dishes to wash because my strainer had broke. Bought a new one. This one didn't work. Went today to Target and that one did work. For the low price of $12. Because why is this strainer $12? The one that don't work that I got from the dollar store was $1 and some change. It didn't work, so you know, whatever. Oh, also went to the farmer's market this morning. Got these cute little bracelets. Not the Pandora, of course. And I found some local honey and an elderberry tincture, and then I needed some thyme for the leek and potato soup, and so a lady was selling thyme, so I got that. Oh, and what I did not tell y'all over here was that I found some yarn at the Goodwill, but I also got yarn today from the farmer's market. There is a lady there and she makes it, like spins it herself, and I just thought that would be so cool. Yes, bed also needs to be made, girl. I just got up and left this morning, but let me show you all this yarn because you know I'm starting crocheting again. I've already started. Let me show you. And I did start from a class on Craftsy. I had done a sponsorship with them not too long ago, and it was so detailed. And being able to pause it and start it back up and finish what you're doing, it was absolutely amazing. So I am trying Tunisian crochet. So this is the one that I just started, and so it looks more like knitting than crocheting. I think I have y'all on the wrong side. I do. It looks more like knitting than crocheting. And I did mess up a few of my stitches, but it's fine. I lost track of the stitches I was on, but that's fine. So that's the first one I'm starting. This is gonna be a hat. Have a larger forehead, so that's why it looks so wide, but it's gonna be a hat. This is the yarn I got today, which I think is beautiful. That's the one I got today from her. Now listen, I had no idea that yarn that somebody spent on a wheel at the farmer's market was $35. So with that being said, this will not be getting used until I am sure I have the technique down. $35, it's beautiful. beautiful though, and it's nice and soft, and she said it has a lot of elasticity in it. So we gonna wait to use this one. But look at all of this yarn that I found. So Tunisian crocheting, you need the longer hook because you are using loops, if that makes sense. It might not. But I got this, all of this, and whoever turned this into the Goodwill had already started a scarf. I guess it was a scarf. I'm probably gonna finish it. But all of that, I think this whole bag was $8.99 from the Goodwill, so yay. And then that's another Tunisian crocheting hook. But I got regular crocheting hooks too, because I'll do both. And then I got this whole bag of yarn too for $6.99. Oh, and I got the basket. I don't remember how much the basket was, but this is where I'm keeping it in my room. And it matches the decor in my new room. So yeah, I got all of that yarn from the Goodwill, minus this one. For what? What's that? $7 and $9? What's that? $16? So that was a good deal. And again, don't remember how much the basket was. So those were really good finds for me as it relates to wanting to get back into crocheting. But I'm starting back up and I'm loving it so much. My daughter has everything, including herself and her mattress, in my living room, y'all. So this is the life. This is my urban homestead life. So I'm going to quickly clean the kitchen and then we're gonna start cooking. Oh, I'm making bread today too. It is a Saturday and I'm getting all the things done. Oh, and some tallow salve. So let me get stuff cleaned up and then I'm coming right back. I'm so excited to share everything with y'all. All right, we are back. The clothes I finished washing. I wanted to make sure I finished washing my clothes before I started this because I need my clothes to be washed. But kitchen is clean now. We are set up to start working, and we did this side for bread, this side for leek and potato soup, and of course the tallow, we don't need a lot of space for that. And with the egg thing, we're gonna do that probably, shoot, we should have did it first because that would have been quick and I could have just put it in the oven. Oh well, maybe we still will. But have this stuff called Good Egg. It is an egg wash, natural enzyme cleanser. They sent it to me. I did a reel over on Instagram, so I'll put it down in the description. So it really cleans the eggs really easily and quickly. It comes with these little brushes, and the brushes have little nodules on it. Let's see if I cover my face. I don't know if y'all can see it. Anyway, has little brushes on it too, like inside, and it's 2 sizes. Makes it really easy to clean my eggs. So we've cleaned the kitchen. We've cleaned the bedroom. So love that. So listen, I have literally been fighting with my other camera thinking that like it wasn't working correctly. Girl, I needed to change the light bulb in my room. But anyway, I don't know. I know I showed y'all this, but I think I showed y'all in bad lighting. That's the new bedroom. Super excited. Like, I think it's so cute. And that's where that basket is I showed y'all earlier. And then that's, so it's supposed to be a clock up here. It's right there. Because it kept falling off of the wall. I used command strips. They were not working for that clock. All right, we're back in the kitchen. We're back in the kitchen and we're about to get started. So what I think I'm gonna do is first start the bread. I'll put the link to the recipe down in the description. It's the same recipe. I switched from this recipe one time, but this is the recipe that I like. Basic recipe, I like it. After we get the bread started, then I'm gonna start the leek and potato soup. And then after that, we're gonna do the eggs. We'll do the egg stuff at the end. Those things are really delicious though. Okay, so what have I learned so far on my bread baking journey? I have learned that, beloved, calm down and get your ingredients together. This is supposed to be fun was an amazing comment. So when I make bread at this point, whether I'm on camera or off camera, I absolutely go find my recipe and then where is my recipe? Hold on, I had my recipe earlier. Then I get all of my stuff out on the table, and that is how I start making my bread. So that was an absolutely great comment. So I would tell people, get your recipe, get all of your ingredients put out, and then start making your bread. Don't try to I mean, if you're already making bread, by all means, do whatever you always do. But if you are new to making bread, this is a great idea to get your stuff together and then start making your bread. First, I'm going to go ahead and put my yeast in here. So I have to start out, I don't use the yeast that you have to proof anymore. I use the fast active yeast at this point instead of doing the yeast that has to proof. So first I'm going to start by putting 3 cups of flour in here. I'm going to mix my yeast in really good, and then I'm going to add all of the remaining ingredients, the water, the sugar, the salt, the oil. I'm going to put it all in here once I make sure those 3 cups have all of my yeast mixed in. This is my yeast. I already measured it out. And I just take a slotted spoon, I guess you would call it, to make sure I mix it in well, so I can let it kind of fall through the spoon. Just making sure it gets mixed in. Doubt you really have to do all of this, but it's just how I'm doing it. I feel so much more comfortable making bread now that I've done it a few times, quite a few times at this point. I've been making bread almost every week since I started it. And I did not finish the craftsy class for the bread making because I was really interested in getting back into crocheting. But the craftsy class for bread making was really good. Like, it was very detailed. I have mixed in all of my yeast. And so that's 3 cups, but I'll be adding more of this flour as we go. So I think I have everything mixed up. And so at this point, I'm going to get some warm water, but then I'm going to pour everything else in here. That's how this recipe does it, and I like that too. That was oil. The first thing was sugar. This is salt. And so that's everything. And now I can pretty much move everything off of the table, give myself some space to work. And now we're adding our 2 cups of warm water. So that's everything. I have started mixing it a little bit, and I know a lot of people are saying like you are doing what the machine should be doing. For me, that's fine. It's okay. We're gonna put this over here, and we have our dough hook already attached. Put it down, lock it, and then I put mine on. We gonna wanna actually plug it in, y'all. These things are super heavy, in case you were wondering. The answer is yes, and it sticks to my table. So I'm gonna turn mine on 4. Well, actually no, that's on 2. And I'm watching as it mixes. Once I see the flour is pretty much mixed in, I'll start adding more flour, and I add 1/2 cup at a time. The recipe says to add it while the mixer is on. For me, sometimes that doesn't work. So I'll just stop the mixer, push it up, and then put the flour in. I think I'm pretty good now. A little bit of flour on the top, but I think I'm good now. So the dough is pretty much attached. One thing that y'all kept telling me is like you're leaving a lot of dough on the hook. So I have been making sure that I don't do that. It's a little sticky, which I have learned is not a bad thing all the time. So what I have left in the bowl, I'm gonna put on the table. All right, so now we have it on the table. It feels good to me. And I know I don't have to do this part, but I am. So now, the same bowl that I had the flour in, I'm gonna grease this bowl, and I'm gonna sit this in it, and we're gonna leave it here to rise. So I just have a little bit of cooking oil. I'm gonna pour it in there, and then I'm going to grease the bowl. And I'm gonna put my dough in here, and I'm gonna roll it a little bit to make sure that the dough has a little bit of oil on it too. And yes, I got nail prints in it. Someone left a comment on an older video of me making bread, and they said these nails don't work with bread making. They do. Maybe not the traditional way that it looks, but my nails work just fine with bread making. So now I'm just gonna throw a towel over it. It's pretty warm in my house. I actually have the heater on and going to let it rise. That is what I normally do, okay? So I'm showing you now based off what I normally do when I make my bread.
All right, moving on to the leek and potato soup. You're gonna need celery, leeks, garlic, heavy whipping cream, chicken broth, butter, salt, pepper, thyme, and potatoes. You can go ahead and put the butter and the olive oil in a pan. Let that melt. Add your leeks, your potatoes, and your celery, and let that cook. You want your leeks to kind of get a little bit tender. Once they have, add your garlic, and then only cook this about 30 seconds because you don't want your garlic to burn. Add your chicken broth and a little bit of thyme, and then stir that all together and let that cook for a little while. Make sure you add your seasonings, salt and pepper is all that I had to use. Turn your heat up just a little bit so that you can bring it to a boil. Stir it as this is going on.
Okay, so the soup is now going. That will need to go for about 15 to 20 minutes until the potatoes are tender. So while we wait, our bread has risen about 2 times the size I feel like it is. Yeah, for me, I would go ahead and punch this and then I would let it rise again. So we're gonna punch it. And it is deflating. I didn't punch it a lot. I probably could have punched it more. And it's deflating. You can see it. So now we're gonna cut it in half. Still don't have a bread cutter. I'm sure you guys are like, are you serious? I still don't have a bread cutter. So we're going to do the same thing we always do to cut this bread. We're gonna use a spatula. And so I'm just making it into a ball, and then I'm going to cut it in half with a spatula. Basically, we're gonna cut it so it's kind of the same size. I don't know that I always get that, but it is what it is. So I just go down what looks like the middle to me, and I probably could put some oil on this and cut it, but didn't do that either. And we've already oiled the pans, or at least put the oil in it, so that still works. Just gonna round this, make it the same shape as the pan. It was kind of already in that shape, but. And now we're gonna put it in here to rise again. We're gonna do the same thing here. My bread is nowhere near as sticky as it used to be. I feel like I have learned quite a bit since I've been trying to do this. I'm very proud of myself, if I'm honest. Very, very proud of myself. All right, forgot to put the oil around it. And then drop it in. And now we're just gonna cover both of them up again with the tea towel. And we wait again. And I am absolutely a clean as you go type person. Everything we have used is already in the strainer. I do not like having dishes, a bunch of dishes at the end. So I'm gonna clean this bowl, and then we are going to start on the egg muffins that we will eat for breakfast this week. Not every day, but I need something where I will just quickly eat breakfast so that I don't skip it. And so egg muffins seem like a great idea to me. I like them, and they're quick and easy. They're quick and easy to make right now. I think y'all are crooked. You are, I'm so sorry. They're quick and easy to make right now, and they'll be quick and easy to warm up in the morning too. So I like that. All right, so the potatoes are tender now. When I push it up against the side, they break. So tender to me. You have to get the sprigs out, the thyme sprigs out. Now I really wish I had actually counted, because they were small sprigs, like I said, or maybe I didn't. I think I did say it. I got them from the farmer's market today, so I wasn't able to cut them to the size I wanted them. And I'm pretty sure I put more than 6. The recipe called for 6, but I'm sure I put more because they were so small. So we're gonna get as much as we can out of here. But now we're gonna take 4 cups of this out. We're gonna put it into the blender. Wait, I think I just saw, yep, that's a piece of thyme. This is very good soup. One of the main reasons I grow leeks, because it's very good soup. So now we're gonna pour this into the blender. Made kind of a mess. And we're gonna put a tea towel over it and blend it. But not for a long time because we don't want it to get gummy. We just want it to kind of make a soup texture. So we're basically gonna hit blend a little bit and take a look at it. Yeah, that's pretty much where we want it. And then we're gonna pour that back into the pot. Just wanna blend it a little bit. Not a lot. You do not want it gummy. Gummy is not a good look on potatoes. And now we're also gonna pour in the cream. This is heavy whipping cream. It was a cup of it. Pretty much done here. We're gonna let it cook, let it turn into a creamy texture. I'm gonna turn the heat back up, and then we'll have vegan potato soup for dinner tonight. Oh, and if you're wondering about this cooktop, it's a London Sunshine. They sent it to me a while ago. It works really well for when I don't really want to be at the stove, or even if you were a camper or something like that. It works really well. I love it. All right, and we're done. We have made leek and potato soup. It's delicious. You should give it a try.
All right, so let's move on to the egg muffins. You are going to need sausage, whatever kind of sausage you prefer. I use sage. And then I went ahead and did a float test on my fresh eggs. Float test lets you know whether your eggs are good to go before you crack them. That's a great thing. Make sure you allow your sausage to brown. That's where you're going to get the good taste from. Go ahead and clean the eggs that did not float. If they floated, toss those right on in the trash can. I did go ahead and clean my bowl because I used this bowl all through this video. It got a lot of use. Putting my sausage in the bowl at this point, and we're gonna go ahead and mix it with the eggs. I did go and get some kale from out of the garden. Loved that for me. Totally lost the footage. Actually forgot to turn the camera on when I cracked those eggs in the bowl. I also add peppers to mine. I do take the seeds out of that. And this is what the mixture is gonna look like. I add a little bit of cheese to it as well. Give it a little bit of flavor. And then I put it in a muffin pan. Spray would be better, but oil is all that I had. And then I just put this all into the muffin pans. Whatever amount I have is what I use. I don't try to fill up a full muffin pan, although I should have. My daughter ate most of them.
It is so delicious, y'all. Y'all told me about leek and potato soup over here. I had never eaten it before. I mean, it's just a really good soup. And it's cold outside too. All right, well, while we wait for things to get done at this point, I'm gonna take a break. So y'all let me know if y'all like something like this. I can't be outside. I can't be outside a lot. I can be out in the greenhouse, but I ain't got nothing to do in the greenhouse. So let me know if y'all like stuff like this. And there they are. Absolutely. They're so good, y'all. Very good and easy for breakfast. So they're done now. I gotta turn the oven back down because when the bread is ready, it's not going to need to be on, what I got it on, 400. Mama, the egg thing's done. Okay. My daughter likes those little egg things. So I just let her know that they was done. We're gonna let those cool off. She'll probably come and get some. And now we just wait for the bread. We're gonna make the tallow, and then I think I'm gonna be done for the evening. And by the time the bread is ready to go in, that should definitely be back down to actually 350. So we're going to make some salve while we wait for the bread. The incubator is still at like 60 something, so we're gonna have to wait for that probably overnight. The humidity is at like 60 something. I'm gonna try closing it a little bit and see what happens, but I always gotta play around and get my humidity right. All right, y'all, the bread has risen nicely. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in the oven now. And while that cooks, we're gonna make our tallow salve. We're gonna wait for that to be done, and then this video will be over. I really hope y'all enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Like, I enjoy using my harvest. I enjoy cooking in general, which is crazy because I used to could not cook to save my life. Like, I couldn't cook to save my life. When my son was younger, could not cook to save my life, y'all. But we're gonna put the bread in the oven, and then we're gonna make this tallow bomb. Alright, so the last thing we're doing tonight, while we wait for the bread, is we're gonna make some tallow salve. So I watched a video. I will put it below, and it says you need a half a cup of tallow. And the person I watched, she put it into her measuring cup, and then she melted it down. So you said that like it's kind of hard to tell in the solid form, but we'll melt it down now. I still smell a little bit of beef in case anybody is interested in doing this. I do still smell a little bit of beef, and that's why I'm also doing it with calendula oil, because I don't want to smell like beef. Although when I get it on my skin, like once I kind of wipe it in, it doesn't smell like beef. But when I'm smelling it straight out of the jar, it smells like beef. Okay. It has a faint smell of beef. Let me not be dramatic. It's a faint smell of beef. It's not like I got a whole steak in this jar. Like, it don't smell like I got a whole steak in the jar. But there's a faint smell of beef. And maybe that's just what tallow smells like. Yeah, and it's fine by me. So we're going to take this and melt it in a double boiler of sorts. So I'm basically just going to put some water on the stove in a pot, and then I'm going to melt this. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of calendula oil. So she did hers just with olive oil, but calendula oil is made with olive oil. So in my mind, it's the same thing. And then I'll get the smell of the calendula and the effects of the calendula. All right, so we're gonna warm this up, and we're just gonna sit this down in it. And as this warms up, the tallow will start to melt, and then I will check to see if we have a half a cup. All right, we're completely melted down, and we are right at a half a cup. That's wild. Look, gotta make it stop moving. Right at a half a cup. How cool. Love that for me. So now, I'm going to take the calendula oil. I'm just gonna do 2 tablespoons. Yeah, there's still a faint smell of beef. And I rendered this 4 times. I did 4 wet renderings, which means I put water and salt, and I kept letting it cook down. And then I did a dry render where I didn't add any more water or any more salt. And then I let it steam off all the water. Because if you leave water in tallow, as I understand it, it will mold. And so that's why I did that last rendering with no water and no salt. And I just let it cook until, well, I didn't let it cook. I let it simmer until there was no more bubbles. Because oil does not bubble unless it's really hot. And I had it at a simmer. That meant the water had come out of it. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of calendula oil, which was just me infusing calendula flowers into the olive oil. And basically that is you allow it to sit for 4 to 6 weeks. I did mine for 4. I have another one going right now, and I'm going to let that sit for 6. And so, as I understand it, this is all you have to do to make a tallow salve. So this is my first one, my easiest thing that to do. So I'm just going to mix it in. And this is gonna solidify again, but it won't be as hard and as solid as the tallow that is just by itself. I use calendula oil on my feet right now. That's what I'm using it for. As I understand it, tallow is good for like all kind of skin things, face and all. Of course, I'm gonna put like a little bit somewhere and see how it works with my skin. This is technically like my second skincare thing because I do calendula oil too. So super excited. I have these little containers. I'm pretty sure I got them off of Amazon when I originally wanted to start doing this, but I wasn't researching much of anything. We're just gonna pour it into here. That's still a little warm, not too warm. I think I'm fine. We're gonna pour it in, and then we're gonna let it solidify. And I have a few of these. I want to give some to my sister too. See how she likes it. The calendula oil didn't really mask the smell, but it's not a smell I don't think I can deal with. Now, I'll see what my sister thinks. I don't think that's enough to fill up another one. We're gonna fill it pretty much to the top. But I've now made tallow salve. How exciting. It just feels like going back to a simpler time for me. Like all of this makes me feel like we're going back to a simpler time. So I'm gonna start using this and I'm gonna let y'all know how it works for me. Of course, just because it works for me doesn't mean it's gonna work for you, or just because it maybe won't work for me doesn't mean that it won't work for you. So at this point, the only thing we're waiting for is bread. I'm so excited. All right, y'all. So we have some tallow balm. It has to solidify. We made some soup. I just took the top off. It's been covered. My son took a bite of our egg things. My daughter already ate 3, which is why we're down to 6. But my son took a bite. He did not like it. He put it back in case somebody else wanted it. Y'all, come get him, y'all. Come get him. Say, hey, girl. She's feeling better, y'all. We're getting there. We're getting there. For everyone who asked, thank you. And we made our bread for the week. We love that. Oh, in one night. So we got breakfast. Maybe not a lot of breakfast because somebody is eating them fast. Much faster than I thought. She does like them though. I took some soup to my dad. I ate some soup. We'll have some soup for this week. Not a lot. And we're going to start using a calendula tallow salve. I'm excited. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to visit me over on Instagram where I post about the things going on in the garden almost every day. Bye, y'all.